I board early because control makes the world feel less shaky. I head straight for 2F the window. I always claim the one that lets me see storms before they hit. Except today, there's a kid curled in it with a tired little teddy and strawberry hair, and she whispers without looking at me, "This seat is closest to the clouds." That's where my mom is. And before the flight attendant can do the polite removal dance, I hear myself say, "Keep it, kid, I'll take 2D. Yeah, that happened. The guy across the aisle shoots me that look. Adults give when they think kindness is a weak hobby. Engines rise, we lift. And somewhere above Ohio, she finally glances over like a bird, checking a stranger. "You like flying?" I ask only when we're high. She says it feels closer. "What's your name, Rosie?" "What's yours?" "Ethan, you look like you don't sleep," she says, like she's noting the weather. I tell her I used to sleep just fine before the parts of my life that mattered. Ended one night on I-90 in a storm. I don't spell it out. I don't have to. She presses the bear to her chest when we hit a bump, and I steady her arm with my hand, and we sit like that for 3 breaths. Two strangers pretending this is normal. When we land in Boston, she says her aunt is meeting her. We stand in arrivals under a board that flickers between delayed and on time, and the number on the paper the airline has. For Aunt Caroline rings into a recorded apology. The emergency contact does nothing. The crowd thins to echo and tile. The agent shifts to protocol voice and says, "We'll call DCF, they'll take it from here." And Rosie squeezes that bear until its ear creaks. I remember the quiet house after the crash, how every hallway sounded like a dare, so I tell the agent, "I'll wait however long it takes, then I buy a hot chocolate." No one drinks and sit next to a 6-year-old on a plastic bench like it's the most important boardroom I've ever entered. "Why are you helping me?" she asks. "Because once I needed help and nobody knew how to show up," I say. "And because you picked the window with scientific accuracy." She almost smiles closest to the clouds. She repeats softer like a password between us. A social worker named Ms. Patel arrives at dusk, neat bun, tired kindness. She thanks me for staying and explains the steps, temporary placement, rules. "Paperwork?" I ask, "Can I visit?" She hesitates for non-family. "That's unusual, but given how you met, I'll make a note." Rosie looks at me with these impossible sky-colored eyes, and I hear myself promise I'll check on you tomorrow. She nods like a soldier who's out of salutes. I walk back to my harbor condo and sit in the dark while the lights blink on the water, and I know sleep isn't coming. I call first thing and hear the phrase, "She's safe," and safe is not the same as home, so I ask to stop by. The care home smells like lemon cleaner and old crayons. Laughter hits the hallways too sharp to be joy. A boy in a cape zooms past, humming. And then Rosie rounds the corner, sees me and runs, like her shoes grew wings. "You came," she says into my coat. "Of course I told you I would." We sit on a blue rug. She shows me a drawing of a plane with 2 figures near a wing. One tall, one small. They don't understand. When I talk about my mom, she says they think I'm pretending. I nod, because grief taught me a vocabulary nobody should know. In 1st grade, when I leave, she asks, "Are you coming back tomorrow?" And it's not a test. It's gravity, yes. I say, long before I know I've decided anything, but my heart already has. What happens next isn't glamorous. It's stubborn and daily. I visit, I listen, I learn. She hates thunder, but loves counting lightning. I learn the bear is named Captain because her mom saluted planes. I learn that when a child is brave long enough, adults start believing again. Miss Patel calls me into a small office with posters about safety and belonging and says, "You understand how unusual this is. You're not family." "Family is a verb," I blurt, maybe corny but true. So I start the emergency caregiver maze, background checks, home study, an inspector measuring cabinet locks while quietly watching the way Rosie tilts toward me when thunder mumbles in the distance. He makes it quiet, she tells him. And I carry that line like a fragile glass through a crowded room. I drive to a store and build a soft room that doesn't match my clean modern place galaxy quilt, small bookshelf, moon nightlight. When Rosie steps inside, she touches everything, like the air might snatch it. Can I hang my pictures? Please cover the walls that night. From the hall, I hear her tiny voice, Ethan. Can you stay till I fall asleep? I sit in a bad chair with a good purpose and wake at 2 a.m., under a blanket. I didn't fetch, and a drawing slipped under my hand. A wobbly boat on blue with 2 stick figures waving under it. She's printed family, crooked and perfect. The weeks aren't a montage. They're pancakes burned on one side, school forms with boxes for parent or guardian. A neighbor in an elevator asking, "Is that your niece?" and me answering, "She's my Rosie." Without blinking, there's a balcony night where she asks, "Do you think my mom is mad?" I'm happy, and I tell her if love is real, it wants you to laugh. She nods like she's heard it before, and then Aunt Caroline knocks. Not a villain, just a woman with road miles in her eyes, saying she's my sister's child, she belongs with me. The word belongs echoes down an old hallway in my chest. We go to court, flags, a clock that doesn't move. A judge who looks like life has sat hard on both sides of his bench. Why this child? They ask, why now? Why you and I say because she needed someone to sit through thunder. And because 5 years ago a storm took my wife and my boy, and I've been pretending not to hear weather ever since. They ask Rosie where she wants to live, and she stares at her shoes, then the judge, then me, and says, "I love my aunt." But Ethan makes the loud things quiet. You could feel the whole room exhale. Caroline doesn't flinch. The order lands like a careful bridge extended. Guardianship with a transition plan, not victory, a chance, we take it. Caroline starts coming by with family stories in a shoebox, a wristwatch, a photo of her sister in a yellow dress, a recipe card stained with vanilla. The wall between us lowers to a fence you can talk over, and just when the ground feels steady, Ms. Patel calls on a wet morning. "Ethan, we've located Rosie's father." My stomach drops in a new way. Where has he been? State custody out 2 months. He wants to be involved. Facts are clean, feelings are not. I meet him in a courthouse hallway, younger than I pictured, and older too. Rough hands, a hat twisting between them. I'm, "Marco, you're the one who kept her safe, thank you," he says. And I want to hate him, so I won't have to be generous. I can't in the hearing. Rosie sits between us, clutching Captain by the ear like it's armor. "Do you know who this is?" the judge asks. She nods. "He's my dad," then turns to me and says, "And Ethan is my home." I breathe carefully so I don't drown on dry land. The judge gives us a map. Rosie keeps living with me. Marco gets visitation and a path. The rest is work. The first visit is awkward, like a new shirt. Marco kneels. Rosie hovers behind my leg. "You got taller. You look like your mom," he says. We order too much pizza and burn the roofs of our mouths and learn nobody wins if everybody tries to. I stand at the sink and listen to a father tell his daughter about making a kite out of a trash bag. It shouldn't feel holy, it does. Weeks turn into a rhythm. Marco finds steady, work keeps every appointment. Caroline brings sweaters a size up and teaches Rosie to braid mornings at my place. Stop being predictable and start being good cereal bowls. A tiny toothbrush next to my razor school forms where she writes, "Ethan" in a box. I didn't know my name fit a Saturday soccer game where she trips, skins, her knee looks up at me, then at Marco and laughs. Because apparently you can have 2 arms to run to one late evening on the pier behind my building. She slips her hand into both of ours and says like she owns the sun, "I have two dads now," and neither of us corrects her later. After she's asleep under a quilt sprinkled with cookie crumbs. She swore we're not there. Marco lingers at my door and says, "I don't know the word for what you are to us. But if this is about winning or losing, I lost a long time ago. She's your daughter. As much as she's mine, she's ours." I answer simple and right-sized accountability and love turn out to be cousins. The internet finds us for a week, with a blurry photo and a snarky headline. I ignore it, except to read one comment aloud. At breakfast that says, "At least the kid looks happy, Rosie spills milk." Captain Nose dives into a cornflake ocean. We practice saving who we can. If you want a bow, I can offer you a ribbon. Rosie turns 7 and decides cake is a breakfast food. She calls me Dad by accident on a rushed Tuesday, and then asks if it's okay on purpose. I go quiet the way you do when a wound finally closes, and you realize you kept touching it just to check it still hurt. "It's more than okay," I tell her, and it sounds like prayer from a man who doesn't pray much. A week later, a new letter from the court arrives, a review, a new judge, a reminder that paper can tug on lives like the tide will show up. We'll speak the truth with whatever dignity we've got. Then we'll go home and make grilled cheese and argue about whether stars are holes poked in the sky or fires too far away to keep you warm. We'll live, which is all victory ever promised. And when I fly for work now, I still book the window out of habit. But if a nervous kid gets planted there, I give it up without thinking. A man once shook his head at me like kindness is for people with time. He doesn't know the first real thing I did in 5 years was let go of 2F. Closest to the clouds isn't altitude. It's the distance between who you were and who you decide to be when a small hand reaches for yours and you don't flinch. You know what I mean? If you've stayed with me this long, tell me what you think in the comments. When love and biology pull different directions, what should a court honor first? Have you seen a system get it beautifully right or painfully wrong? Is family blood? Or is it something you choose and keep choosing? And if you were me that morning at the window, would you have moved or told the kid to move? Your move.